Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, the pandemic has been horrible for a lot of businesses, but it's been great for private jets. I'll explain next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I love to hear success stories, and that's why I've invited David Henry on my show. He's the CEO of StatusJet, and your business has been booming during the pandemic. Talk about that.
Sure. Well, thank you, Jeff, for having me on the show. Delighted. The pandemic has really pushed a lot of people into private aviation, and for several reasons. First, you kind of saw people that probably had the means to do this, but they didn't want to be in a commercial airplane. They were worried about COVID, and or they were moving parents' homes. We saw it first as people. I got to get my dad, mom back from California to Dallas. I've got to move. My daughter's got to come home from. But you saw business travel drop completely off, and it's still down. But right. You've seen a probably 30% jump in this space of new customers for the first time.
And a lot of people think, oh, well, you got to be a billionaire to fly private, and it's actually more affordable than some people would imagine. I mean, it's not for the person who's right. flying a budget airline every day, but for a CEO who could write it off, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A lot of our customers are people that own businesses of all different sizes. They may do 2 or 3 trips a year for personal, and 4 to 6 in business. But if you think about it, pre-COVID even, if you had to get from, let's say, Dallas to New York, you had meetings in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, and you had to do it in 3 or 4 days, that's almost impossible to do.
We pulled a fun little video off of your Facebook page. I don't know if you shot it or this was shot for you. Do you recognize this video?
I do.
Yeah. And is that representative of the planes that you lease or sell?
Sure. So that's a Citation 10, and it's a super mid. We'll get into this, but you have light jets, mid-size, super mid, and heavy like Gulfstream. But that's a 10. So that particular airplane is based here in the Dallas area. We have several clients that use it all the time going down to Cabo. But that particular plane, if you wanted to go across the country from New York to LA, would go nonstop.
Wow.
It's big enough fuel, and the Citation 10 is the fastest jet in the world.
Well, and I know over the holidays, we're all watching the news. We're seeing these long lines. We're seeing the COVID protocols. We're seeing all that stuff that just says, do I want to go to that Jeremy airport? So I can see how your business would take off.
It has, and now we're seeing the business traveler come back, probably more so than airlines. I heard today or saw today somewhere that, like American Airlines, business travel still off 40, 50%. We're seeing now a lot more clients, they feel better about being on a private jet. Right. And it's them and who they want on that plane. And that they just like the freedom and the safety, and boom, they go.
We're going to show some pictures of just some of these beautiful jets that you're buying and selling. I know how to buy a car. Everybody knows how to go to a dealership and buy a car. How do you buy a jet?
So that particular airplane, that was a Citation 5. Mm-hmm. You could buy that for $1.5 million. So,
no kidding.
And that sounds like a lot of money, but there's also tax write-offs and things. But how you buy a jet? So I always tell people, if we were at a restaurant, I got a salt shaker and a pepper shaker. I put the salt over here and say, that's what it costs to buy it. But the pepper is what it costs to own it. So we really walk them through, here's the expenses to have it. Here's what you should expect to pay, including pilots and fuel. And we do all that for them. We put all that together so that they really have an understanding of what it's going to cost. Because what you don't want to do is, I tend to shoot a little higher
Yep.
So they're not surprised in a bad way. But you have to be really good with what it costs. And truly, if you're flying, say, 200 hours a year or more, it does make sense to probably own your own aircraft.
Okay, in the car business, it's easy to decide new or used. In the plane business, new or used?
Well, that's gonna depend on what you do. So, for example, ExxonMobil, they're here in Dallas, their headquarters.
Yeah.
They buy new, and they'll take those Gulfstreams and fly them typically for 6 to 7 years. Usually lease them, like this big Bank of America, companies like that will lease airplanes, just like you could lease a car from a dealership or D&M or someone like that. And so the bigger companies tend to go newer. Most first-time buyers, second, third-time buyers are in the pre-owned market.
Wow.
Just because, unlike jets depreciate just like a car. So if you bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz, drove it for 3 years, it's going to be worth 30% less.
And you'll find jets. Like if you have a good customer and they're like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, you'll go out and find it?
And that's fun. I enjoy that the most because we sell them too, but right now we're looking for 3 or 4 different airplanes for people. And right now the market's crazy, just like cars. People are paying higher prices to buy them, but that's a function of more people are buying them.
Right.
So I told you, not just the charter's up, aircraft sales are up. So it's pushing people into owning their own airplane.
Okay, so if you, David Henry, are personally scouting out this plane for this very, wealthy client, do you jump on a plane and go out there and look at it yourself, or get a mechanic to look at it? Or
well, I try to keep our costs low, so I'm a good old American. But definitely, we will. Remember, airplanes are all over the world.
Yeah.
So the chances of a G280, which is a really nice Gulfstream Super Mid, sitting at left field is remote.
Yeah.
So it could be in Dubai, it could be in London.
Oh, wow.
Could be. So yeah, just like a car, we can get like a Carfax on an airplane. It's the logbooks and the review. So we look at all that to make sure everything's in order. It's been maintained properly. And the great thing about airplanes, unlike a car, you have to get your airplane maintained, or they won't let you fly.
Wow.
If you want to buy a car, not get insurance, not change the oil, drive in the ground, never get a license, you can.
Wow.
Until you get caught.
Okay, tell me about the benefits of being the CEO of a private jet company. I mean, are the perks that you haven't flown commercial in years, or do you still fly commercial?
I still fly commercial. It's hard to pencil that. I've done a few here and there, and sometimes if we're moving a plane, sure, I can hop on it.
Yeah.
But then I got to come back commercial, so it kind of busts the bubble. When you fly up on a Learjet and you're waiting in line at Southwest.
You got a daughter who just graduated from Texas Tech. She's a public relations major, and doesn't she say, "Daddy, can't I take the plane?"
Oh, we just got back from Cabo. We always go there around New Year's. And my family doesn't understand why we're sitting in coach on American. And I'm like, yeah, I can get a deal, but it's pretty expensive.
That's very cool. Well, we only have about a minute left. Final thoughts. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, I think there's several ways to fly private. One of them is to own your jet. We talked about that. The other is you could buy a fractional program from the companies like, FlexJet, NetJets. Right now, they're not even taking on new customers. It's so busy. That can be really expensive. Or you can call up StatusJet or someone like us that we go out and find. We have operators all around the world that we vet. We've been vetted by the United States government. So
wow.
we're approved to work with them. So the best thing is just think about where you want to go, how many people, how often, and then we can put together a program for whatever that is. It's not a canned deal.
I love it. David Henry, CEO of StatusJet. Thanks for coming on the show. The website is statusjet.com. We'll have to have you back again soon.
Well, thanks for having us.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.